Okay, so I want to welcome to Beat Some Balls, former British sprinter and now one of the hottest sports broadcasters on the box right about now. Jeanette Kwakye, what are you saying?
Thank you, Jordan.
You good?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Finally get on your show.
I know.
I mean, really?
No.
Really?
You know what? This is the relaunch, so like this is when it's really gonna bang, and you're on the first one, so you know what it was. So let's talk music. I want to know from you, Jeanette, what role music played in your sprinting career, and how much how was it integral into your training and your competing process?
It was huge. I think people underestimate the power of music sometimes, especially when it comes down to sport. For me personally, it shaped so many things. You know, I had playlists that would depend on what type of session I was doing, what kind of competition I was doing. My playlist would be so meticulous, they'd be timed, so a certain song would play at a certain part of my warm-up.
Okay.
So that was really, really important for me to kind of make sure that all of that was a fine-tuning when it came down to performance. So I'm a huge music fan, huge music fan.
So give me a flavour. When Jeanette was training, when she's in the gym, when she's on the track, what kind of tunes what got you through those sessions?
Okay, if you know me properly, then you know me. I'm an East London girl. Okay. I grew up around the era of grime. So a lot of my base, a lot of my foundation in my formative years, especially as a young teenager, was around grime, R&B, especially 90s R&B. So like I kind of moved through that wave. So it's quite interesting because I went to college with people, like I was in school with people like Lethal Bizzle and stuff like that. Okay. So I kind of grew up in and around that space when them men were making oi.
Yes.
So for me it was, you know, to see that all kind of happening and hear that playing in the clubs, but then see them boys in the corridor at college was quite exciting.
Yes.
So very much kind of made up my playlists and my music library. But then along with that, you know, I'm a big garage head. Anything that's dancey, anything that's jumpy, and I think that's really kind of reflective of my personality as well.
Okay. So this is why I think I must be weird, Jeanette, because I must be the only person that when I'm on the treadmill in the gym, slow jams can get me through, you know. Am I the only person you never ever heard of that listen to slow jams on a treadmill?
You are not the only person. You are not the only person, but you are one of another. My coach used to say the same. I cannot believe.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know, it must be a thing. Really weird. Anyway, my coach used to listen to slow jams. Like this is very rare, if he ever had the chance to kind of control the music in the gym, he'd play like Jodeci and like Jagged Edge. Be like, what are you doing?
To Joe, maybe some early R. Kelly. I don't know what it is.
Mate.
It got me through.
That ain't pumping me up for no one. So no, we didn't. He loved that. So you can kind of go with his, yeah, please.
And when you were competing, when you were at stadiums, when you were at arenas, I mean, I know how it works for footballers. They're in the changing rooms. How does it work for athletes and sprinters? Do you share dressing rooms? And if so, you know, what were your experiences of who played what and what you heard pre-race?
Right. So that's a really, really good question. Basically, what would happen was with us, if you're a sprinter, I can only talk really from a sprint's perspective, you would warm up an hour and a half or so before your race. That's the kind of time frame when you start to limber up and get ready. Okay. And it's really interesting because sprinters in particular were known, especially, you know, brash, cocky sprinters were known to have the biggest headphones. The bigger your headphones, you know, the badder you were. Yeah, you were about it. So I made sure, you know, my headphones were probably bigger than the size of my head, but it gave me some confidence to kind of like maybe block out everything. Okay. So you'd have that right through your warm up. You know, obviously you can't do too many of your speedy runs and stuff like that, and I'd kind of run before wireless headphones were really the thing. So I'd have, you know, the big Beats, big Bose, you know, Bang & Olufsen, whatever my money could stretch to. But then when it came down to doing the sprints part of my warm-up, I'd put them to the side, do the sprint, maybe come back, put tunes on and just try, and it's a really good way to kind of distract from what else is going on around you. But then what would then happen is just before you go out and race, maybe depending on the competition, 20 minutes to half an hour before you race, you get put in the cool room. Now, the cool room, you're not allowed no electronics, no phones, no music. So you're not allowed anything. It's just you, your spikes, your kit bag, and your race number, along with everyone else who's in your race. So it's very much about your thoughts. And a lot of people will say races are won and lost in that cool room, because that is the 20 minutes before the race where you have to get your mind right. No distractions. It's about how you can keep it together up there.
That's an interesting point you made about when people, the bigger headphones they wear. That kind of, we see footballers in particular now coming off the bus, going to stadiums. They've all got headphones on and kind of just go through to the arena. Do you think that it's not so much they're listening to music and they're trying to get in the zone? It's more they're trying to distract from everything else around them, fans, press. They're trying to just basically stay in the zone, and the headphones represent I'm in the zone, as opposed to I'm listening to a particular tune that's going to get me in the mood.
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. It definitely was for me.
Okay.
Very much just trying to make sure that I'm blocking out any white noise. I didn't want to hear anything, any talk, any chat, because you're aware, especially if you're racing quite well, you're running quite well, you're aware that you're focused. You know, people are going to be watching your warm up in that kind of environment. People are going to be thinking, oh, what's she going to do? You know, what's that? And you just want to just deflect from that and just have the music or whatever it is in your ear. Maybe some people might even like to listen to podcasts or whatever it may be, just to make sure that actually, you know what, this is the frame of mind I want to be in, and I'm going to put these headphones on and just deflect from everything else that's around me. And I think that's important.
Okay. Jeanette, what annoys you about music today? What one thing annoys you the most? It can be an artist, it can be a particular genre, it could be something, anything. What one thing really grates on you about music today?
I think that we are in an era of instant gratification when it comes down to music, and it's such a shame actually, because, you know, back in the day when we were growing up, there were one-hit wonders on the radio. You'd hear them and you'd laugh, and you know, it'd be a great tune. It would last the summer. Never heard of them again. I think what you have now is the same kind of thing, but then the artist that's behind it genuinely thinks, actually, you know what, I've arrived.
Yes.
And I don't like that. There has to be a graft. There has to be something whereby, as any athlete would understand, you have to work quite hard.
Some pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to work quite hard. And also with music, build up your fan base. Don't just jump out and think you can, you know, make this viral tune and it will be great, because you'll be a flash in the pan. You know, build up your fan base. Do something that people think is credible. And as that fan base grows, start to diversify, start to expand. And that's what I want to see more artists do, because there are platforms there for that. You know, it's not as hard. Well, I say it's not as hard. I'm not an artist, so I don't really know. I can't really speak for it. But there are easier ways to get your music out there, or to get your music in front of the people that could potentially, you know, make decisions on your behalf.
Indeed. And finally, Jeanette, who is your musical icon? Give me one name. I don't want to hold it to name. I just want who was the one artist or group that him, her, them.
Whitney.
Okay.
Hands
Why so?
down. Whitney Houston, because I recently just watched her latest film that was made about her, Whitney, which is amazing. I recommend everybody go and see it. It's just brilliant. But apart from the fact she was unbelievably beautiful, she managed to do something with pop music back then that no other black female artists could do, and kind of bring together globally, you know, fans to celebrate her and celebrate her music. You know, what happened to her and everything else that, you know, towards her demise and, you know, ultimately her death was really hard. But I think there were so many lessons in that, and I think that if you pick apart her life, she, like I say, pick apart her life, there are so many things you could learn and apply to different artists, so it doesn't happen to them, almost like warning signs. But her voice is just amazing. And I've got a small anecdote for you. When I Olympic final 2008, I had my headphones on, and it was really weird because we were the last event of the night, and it's, you know, huge stadium, 90,000 people. But in the warm-up area, when you're the last event of the night, the only people that are on the track are your competitors and their coaches and a few medical staff, so it's pretty quiet. And between my semi-final and my final, you've only got 3 hours to really kind of get yourself into gear, ready to go out again into that cauldron. And I'm warming up, and I've got my music on, you know, it's probably Jay-Z or Dead Prez or something mad, like I'm on this now. And then it was on shuffle, and just before I took my headphones off to go into the cool room, Whitney Houston One Moment in Time comes on. I'm like, what's happening?
What's going on here?
What's going on? This ain't part of it. So I was like, oh my God. And I listened to the first 30 seconds or so, and I thought, oh God, I've got to turn this off because I'm going to burst into tears. Like, I can't listen to this.
I don't need this now.
I don't need this now. And so I literally turned it off, but I thought, oh my God, what a message.
Yeah.
Because literally, like, this is like, I never know if this is going to happen again. So, you know, I went out there and, you know, I had a great time. Listen, I had an amazing Olympics. So it was, you know, she kind of spoke to me through the speakers
there you go.
Back in 2008. And it was just, you know, just her voice is something else. And, you know, I think I really appreciate probably what she had to go go through to get to where she was back then as a black woman.
And does that kind of just briefly kind of resonate with your career, having to work extra hard as a black athlete because of whatever industry you might be in?
Yeah, of course. And I think, listen, I'm a sprinter. A lot of the women that I compete against look like me. So, I'm one of thousands who's able to do what I did back then, but it's about being able to stand out. I think the main issue is now when you step out from that environment, coming into one that we're in now, there are frustrations. It's not something we're going to get into now, but, I do genuinely believe that graft as an athlete is helped me now to kind of just make sure that I've always got to be a little bit better than everybody else, just to make sure that I can kind of rise above it when need be.
Jeanette, that's great. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Cheers.